I think it was around year 2005. I was talking to Dr. Dellon, and I said, Dr. Dellon, your work is fabulous. You've written all these textbooks, you've written all of these articles, but I feel there's something missing. And he said to me, somewhat not nicely, like, why don't you figure it out? And I'm going to tell you how I think I figured this out. So I started reading outside my area of expertise, and I found a very, very interesting article in the Journal of Circulation written by Dr. John Cooke. And if you want to look it up, it's Cooke. He's an MD, PhD. His PhD is in vascular biology. His expertise is cardiology. He was the head of the Metabolic Clinic at Stanford at the time that I met him. I text him a message. I said, Dr. Cooke, your article in Circulation is an excellent article. I think it has everything to do with Dr. Dellon's theory of nerve compression. He called me on the phone about 2 hours later, which is very unusual. And he said to me that he did a literature search that no one had thought of this idea. He invited me to come up to Stanford, which I did. I worked with him for a couple of years on and off, looking at his molecule and looking at the biochemistry of what his molecule, and I'm going to tell you what that is in a moment. It's a molecule that blocks what we call the nitric oxide pathway. It's called asymmetric dimethyl arginine. It's a big word, but a simple solution. Dimethyl means two methyl groups. Arginine, essential, semi-essential amino acid. When they're on the same side of that molecule, it blocks the nitric oxide pathway. He thought that that was a very interesting concept and as applied to diabetic neuropathy. And we tested my patients, about 160 of those patients. We found that they had not only elevated asymmetric dimethyl arginine in the diabetic patient, the same patient, but they had other nerves throughout the body. And one in particular that interests both of us was multiple sclerosis, very high levels of that chemical. So we started to look at that, and I had the eureka moment of saying, wait a minute. Molecule in biochemistry is not going to be specific for one nerve over another. It's going to be very common and pervasive, which it is. But I said it's going to take 15 years to figure this out. He wanted me to go up to Stanford and work with him full time. But my kids were young. I would have done that, but I couldn't disrupt my family. So I said, let me write a book. And that book is called Sugar Crush. I outline all the things that I'm telling you today that's in that book. Now, 18 years later, it's true. It's been discovered, and it is correct. It is the first molecule that blocks the nitric oxide pathway. I'm happy that I was part of that process. So the first question I asked Dr. Cooke when I met him was, Dr. Cooke, I'm confused about this cholesterol hypothesis. I really wasn't, but I didn't want to offend him in any way. And he explained to me, he said to me, Dr. Jacoby, the lining of the blood vessel, which is called the endothelium, is smooth. It's like Teflon. When you eat sugar, it makes it like Velcro. So cholesterol is a signaling molecule that's secreted from the liver, goes through the blood supply when you're eating sugar, and it puts down a film of cholesterol, which we call plaque. And every time you eat sugar, you add layer after layer after layer of plaque. That word is called atherosclerosis. First used probably in the 1860s by Burkow, a very similar type person to Dr. Cooke. He looked at the inside of a blood vessel in the 1860s, opened it, and said, because he spoke 5 languages, he said in Greek, what is that gunk? And gunk in Greek is athero. And hardened gunk is atherosclerosis. That's why that term has been used throughout the last couple 100 years. It is the process, but it is not the cause. Cholesterol does not cause hardening of the arteries, does not cause cardiac disease, does not cause diabetic neuropathy. What causes all those is sugar, and that's the rest of the story.